Hey everyone, it's me, Tia. What's going on? Okay, so we're about to go live with Mark West. So I'm about to add him in the group. I'm so excited. Oh my god. Hey, what's up, Bugs? Okay, so let's do a little interview with this artist. Um Oh, thanks. I had to switch it up a little bit. Yes, thank you so much. Okay, Mark, I added you. I don't know where you at. Okay, House of Mark West is in the chat. Hey, what's going on? Okay, so I requested you. I think you just gotta accept. Yeah, let me try again. Invites. Okay, cute. Hi. Yes, y'all should have seen what I looked like an hour ago. Hey, welcome. So we got to do an interview. Mark, I sent you the request. I don't know if you got it. So you have to go to like the bottom of the thing, and then it should pop up. Oh, wait, hold on. Accept. Hey guys. What's going on? Okay, I'm like trying to accept it. It's not working. Hold on. 1 second. Oh, hey!
Hey!
What's
Hey,
up?
Tia.
How are
Hey,
you?
I'm doing pretty good.
Yes,
How are you doing?
I'm good. Okay, you got the light on. You look good.
Yeah, I got the
Okay,
light
I'm
hooked
so
up.
excited. Like it's been a minute since I've like seen or heard from you. So
Yeah.
the first question I have for you is like, why did you decide to leave the United States of America?
Well, when I came to Brazil, I didn't view it as me leaving.
Okay.
Before I had even was, full time in New York, I had traveled all over the world. I had lived on already three or four other different continents. So I really consider myself a global person. So when I decided to go and purchase a building down here, it was more about incorporating Brazil into my lifestyle. You know,
Okay.
it's more of just a lifestyle of just, being able to go and disconnect and be in a nice place where the weather's decent and work on my art and I can start to lay some roots because I love traveling, but
Mm-hmm.
it gets to a point where you don't want to just keep traveling. You want to be able to go to a different country and you've
Right.
already established yourself. You have some relationships there.
Okay.
Um, so that was what that was all about, and the opportunities lined up. So
Okay. So I just want everyone to know, like, so what exactly do you do?
well, I do a lot of stuff, but
Mm-hmm.
I consider myself an artist and a historian and a creative. Right now, I'm working on writing a short film. I've done a few of those things in the past too.
Okay.
But right now, I'm here. I'm working on some new art, and I'm building a program for artists. You know me from when I ran Cultural Center back in New York City. But
Mm-hmm.
here, after doing that for a few years and having a space that I own here, I'm having to put a lot of this.
Right.
So I'm creating the residency program for artists here, but I'm doing everything myself, so it just takes a little bit of time. I might have planned to go away for a month here, 2 here, 3 months at a time, but sometimes stuff happens and you're working longer. You're working much
Mm-hmm.
longer than you thought you were. You thought
Right.
you were going back home, but nope, you have to do this. You got to do this. You got to build a wall. You got to meet these people, that people. Um, and that's just kind of how life unfolds. So you just got to kind of follow with it.
Yes. So tell me about like your experience being and living that artist lifestyle in Brazil? Like, how
It's
has it
very
been?
similar to New York in that in some ways you just gotta buckle down and just stay focused and do the work.
Okay.
Uh, but I would say here it's a lot less pressure because I'm not in New York City. I don't have to pay crazy amounts of rent. That's
Okay.
such a huge burden that's on so many artists' head. Just being able to keep up. You know, it
Right.
costs so much to just to just exist in New York. So here I have a lot more freedom. I have a lot more space to think about my art, and I think some of the challenges are language barriers.
Yes.
Having
So you
to
learned Portuguese.
I can kind of handle a little bit in Portuguese,
Okay.
um, but it's still a barrier.
Yeah.
And also having to get to Brazilian taste because I'm from America, so I'm usually selling to people who are in America. But if you're trying to break it down here, the work has to be relatable to the
Oh,
audience.
okay.
So having to think about work that's a little bit more relatable so that we
Hmm.
can get into having more opportunities.
Okay.
But then there are some benefits because I'm a foreigner. They call them gringos here. I'm a gringo. Gringo. So in that, I'm probably going to get the conversation. I'll at least get the conversation.
Right.
You know, they may not do everything for me, but they will at least hear what I have to say because I come from a different country.
Okay.
So
So far, like during the time that you've been living there, have you sold any artwork to any of the people in Brazil?
yes, not that long ago, I got my first commission, and I've been working on that painting. It's just from one of my colleagues, but they wanted to get some art and have it on their wall.
Oh,
And I have one piece that's hanging up at a small gallery downtown in Rio. That's there permanently.
okay. Wow, that's amazing. So
And
what's the name of that piece?
what is that called? That piece is called Macario on My Futon.
Okay.
Hmm.
Hmm.
And the piece that I'm working on for the commission, I don't have a name for it yet,
Okay.
and I'm working on having a studio visit.
Okay.
So I'm gonna be inviting a lot of different people and a lot of different artists to come and see some of the work, and hopefully some people can get some work from me, or at least think
Yes.
about getting some work from me. So when they get the money, when they get the coins, they know
Mm-hmm.
who to call.
Yes, Mark West. So when I had met you, Mark, you had your studio in Bushwick and you were hosting events. So is that similar to like what you're trying to do in Brazil? Like having the open studio events and stuff like that?
Definitely. The biggest thing is that this space is permanent. This space is not going anywhere. You know, this is my space. In New York City, I had to deal with landlords and having to move based on when they told me to move. But here, I can do what I want to do. I can play the music as loud as I want. I can do what I want to do.
Okay.
That being said, that comes with a lot more responsibility. It's not
Mhm.
just as simple as making the flyer and telling people to come in. Everything has to be at least to somewhat of a commercial level. You know, thinking in terms of building it up, making sure everything is safe, making sure there's no places where people can fall off, um,
Okay.
and making sure the electricity is working. There's a lot of different things that because I'm the owner of this space, I have more responsibility.
Hmm.
So it's taking a little bit longer. You
Right.
know, if something went wrong at any of the galleries, I go to the landlord and it's fixed the same day. But here I gotta pay everything. So it
Mm.
takes it's taken a little bit longer than I thought, and there are a lot of things that I didn't really consider,
Oh,
like when I was first signing up for this job.
right. Okay. So how has like the community like embraced you?
I think the Brazilian community overall is very welcoming
Okay.
and very warm, and I think that Brazil is known for a place that really welcomes foreigners. And here there are so many Black people here. This is the largest congregation of Black people outside of Africa.
Right.
So here you have a lot of really great ancestral Afro vibes going on. And as far as the artist community, it's similar to New York. Um, you've got people who are going to be very supportive of you and
Mhm.
want to connect with you and be your colleague, and then you don't have those people. You got jealousy too. It's the
Right.
same. It's the
Right.
same. We're all out here trying to make it, and that doesn't change because you're in Brazil. So the struggling artist, that's something that you see from New York to Brazil, and we're all trying to get higher and lift each other up.
Yes, I love.
Um,
Well, okay, so if you could tell, like, just share a little bit more about like the type of paintings and art that you make.
so I think I think the last time you saw me when I was having that exhibition, that one, and just with my previous work, it used to be so much about um, exposing history and sharing the truth. And now that life is a little bit more sweet for me,
Mhm.
being out of New York City, at the end of the day, when I go into my home, I just want to see beautiful pieces. I want to see, colorful art. I want to see things that express love. I don't want to think too much. I just want to see it and feel the joy and the happiness from it. So that's where my art is shifting.
Oh,
Less trying to, I guess, poke at the problem or even expose the problem, and more so offer the medicine, offer the healing. And you see a lot of joy and liberation in the pieces that I'm making. Like this one behind me.
oh,
This one is just about, it's actually a kind of a manifestation of what I hope to have one day when I'm in, my house and I can do my yoga and I've got lots of art and stuff and
mhm.
I'm getting higher. As you see the person that's being lifted through the yoga practice.
Right.
And and I don't know if that's a, let me
Wait,
see.
so you're still practicing yoga?
Yeah,
Wow.
I do the yoga. I do the yoga all the time on my roof, and I look at the ocean. That's kind of my practice. So that's something that's different from being in New York. I couldn't do that in New York.
Right.
So when I get up, I have my coffee, I talk to God, and then I go do the yoga, and then it's game time. Then
Oh,
we're starting art.
wow. Okay. So it's more like it's more tranquil. I could see it. I definitely could see it. I feel like you had a similar painting in a similar room like that, but it was like you had the pigs. Do you remember that painting? I don't know if you remember. It was like in a room similar to that.
Oh
And you
yes, that
had,
was my fuck the pigs painting.
yes,
Yes.
fuck the pigs painting. And it's like, I don't know, when I first just when you showed me that photo, that painting of you doing yoga, that it kind of brought me back to that. And now I see it, how it like the it transitioned, how how the paintings and you feel more relaxed.
I'm more happy. So my art's gonna reflect that.
Yeah.
I'm in a spot where where I can have full control over my day. And when you're running a gallery in New York and you're also trying to just survive, you don't really have that much control over your time because every month you gotta push it. Every month the rent is due. So you got to do exhibition, event, this, that, and the third, making new pieces. You got to constantly push it out. Here, life is a little bit more sweeter for me. I can take some time every day and go to the jungle if I want to and look at the monkeys. So
Mhm.
I just want to feel more happier and joyful when I come. And that's kind of how that's shifting. I'm going to change to a different room because my phone's dying.
No problem. No problem. I love like the color of the walls, the blue. So,
Thank you.
it's okay. Now
Every
you're in a yellow room.
Yes, I'm in the yellow room.
Okay. So tell me why yellow?
Well, when I wanted, this was the first room, this was the very first room that I had painted in here. And I knew when I walked in, I just wanted it to feel nice and warm and just warm. This house I'm in, it doesn't face the sun. The sun is behind me,
Oh,
but it
okay.
faces the ocean. So the view is good, but I don't get the light. So sometimes it gets really cold. So I just wanted to feel nice and bright and warm.
Yes, I love that. Okay. So what do you have hanging in this room?
I got tons. I have so much art. Hold on, let me see if I can flip this camera around. Okay. So this piece right here, the piece
Mm-hmm.
that we had made back when I had the gallery in the South Bronx. It's a community
Okay.
mural. We had it. Remember when we had our art nights? We used to have art
Yeah,
nights, and
yeah.
it was about 15 different artists that had made this piece that night.
Mm-hmm.
So I have the original piece. This piece is by Patrick Earl. I got this from the Heath Gallery when he had his solo show there, and I forgot the name of this artist, but this is actually Master Roshi from Naruto. This is a black
Mm-hmm.
Master Roshi. It's called Nosebleed.
Okay. I love
And then
it.
my
And so
friend made this
in
one.
in this studio, how
Mhm.
many
Yeah.
rooms do you have?
So, total there, the room that I use for the studio. My studio is actually going to be
Okay.
upstairs. It's going to be moved upstairs,
Okay.
but I'm still doing the construction up there. And there's another room upstairs, which will be another room for an artist that to have a studio space. And then this room down here will be another room for another artist in residence to have a studio space. And then there's one more smaller room. And then on the third floor, that is where we're going to have a gallery. Another artist, a few artists could be up there, but I'll probably just leave that space where we can exhibit some of the work, have it open, and in case we want to have a concert or a musician come by,
Right.
we can hold some people in that room. You know,
Okay.
so
So
that
Mark, sorry
on
to
the
interrupt.
third
Mark,
floor, yeah.
can you show me the painting with the ladder
Oh, okay, yes, this
and
one.
talk me through just like everything, what's going on? Okay, you have
Okay,
a
this is a
lot.
great painting too.
Mm-hmm.
This one is called If Jesus Was a Woman. And this one is this main person here is Jesus. And Jesus is allowing the other people to climb on his back in order to get higher. So all of these smaller people like us, they're
Mm-hmm.
climbing on Jesus's back. And I thought that if Jesus allowed you to climb on his back, he would also give you the rope. So all of these people are attached to Jesus at the rope. Even this woman who's climbing higher, she still has a rope. So that's just to show the safety that Jesus would provide in order to get higher. And over here, different scenes, like this is the scene where Jesus says to walk on water, and the person has to have the faith in order to leave the boat. And in the scene, he floated.
Mm-hmm.
And this is also the scene where Jesus was crucified. And then this scene down here is where Jesus rolled the stone away, and he rose from the dead. So this is basically showing the story of Jesus and the different people that Jesus is allowing to. Jesus is a tool. Jesus is being used in
Mm-hmm.
order to get higher.
Okay. So why did you decide to incorporate like religion and Jesus in your painting?
A lot of my work does incorporate religious ideas into the pieces because for myself, I don't really believe in just making art just for the sake of making art because it's pretty. You know, sometimes I do some pieces just for fun, but for the pieces that I consider my work, I believe that it should have some significance. And the easiest way for me to inject significance into it is doing something, history or related to Jesus. Jesus is
Mhm.
important. So if I'm choosing work that's more significant, I believe it can touch people in a better way versus me simply just putting a lot of color on the painting. Or we see a lot of artists do this. They have their set style and then they'll simply make regurgitations of the same style. Let's say they paint people blue or green and then they simply do the same style but change the clothing. And it's the same idea, but it doesn't move. Um,
Mhm.
with me, I'm trying to give you something completely unique in a significant story in each piece, and I want each person to have something completely different than the person that's next to it.
Right.
So with all of my pieces, if you lay them side by side, you won't find one where it looks just like the other one. You're getting a completely unique story, and that's my brand. That's my quality. I'm a historian. That's my background. So all of these pieces are going to be very histories and story based.
Yes, I love that. So the pieces that you've made while you're in Brazil or since you've been in Brazil, have they all been like focused on like women?
Yes, and I was having this conversation a while back with my father, and he was saying, why do you always paint the women? And I was honest that women have a better shape, and the shape
Okay.
of women is just more beautiful. There's more curves. So if I'm gonna choose a subject to make beautiful, then I'm not gonna be painting a clunky man.
Right.
There's so many curves you can draw when you're drawing a woman, and there's so many angles that even the female body can be put in that the male body cannot bend in or
Okay.
cannot contour in. So
Period.
it's just some things that you're gonna get from using that. Um,
Okay.
and also, I feel like a lot of times women also like black people where we struggle. So the people who are seeing my work and the people who buy my paintings are mostly black people and
Mhm.
mostly women. So I'm gonna try to reflect, the people who support my work.
Right.
Most of the support has come from black women in terms
Wow.
of the people who just bought my paintings. It's been black women that dropped that cash. So this work is gonna honor them because they honor me.
Oh, I love that, Mark.
Yeah.
Wow. That's beautiful. Okay. So tell me about the Brazilian woman.
Okay. Um. Well, Brazilians in general are just gorgeous, and it depends on the Brazilian woman because there's the Brazilian woman from college, that's in the city center, and then there's the Brazilian woman from the favela. So
Okay.
those are two
Two
different
different,
Brazilian women. It is
two
two
different
different
walks
ones.
of life.
It's like, okay, that's like saying, okay, tell me about the New York women. Well, you talking about the Bronx women, or we talking about the Manhattan women? Those are two different. Those are
Right.
two different ones.
Okay. So the neighborhood that you live in, you just said that you live by the water. So like
Hmm.
could you share a little bit more about like the scenery and like the culture of like the area?
Yeah, definitely. So I'm in a part that's called Vidigal, and Vidigal was an area that was originally built by slaves. Brazil has a sort of landscape where it's a lot of mountains, and when they had slavery, Brazil was one of the last countries to end slavery. They were so racist. They really held on to this.
Mm-hmm.
So once slavery had ended, black people tried to live in the city centers, and tried to interact with, society. However, they faced so much brutality. And at the same time, the land that was in the mountain was considered the least desirable. The people who had the money wanted to live on flat land close to the water, but that land is very, very limited. So after slavery, a lot of the slaves formed their own communities in the mountains, and they were called favelas. And the favela is the unregulated type of community where the government, in a way, turns a blind eye to the construction because it's on the mountain. However, fast forward, the mountain areas have the best views, and they've become some of the most desired places. So where I'm at, they have breathtakingly gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous views. And from my house, I can see the islands, the ocean, and the mountain.
Oh, wow.
Hmm.
Okay. So I bet I
And
have you painted any like anything like with the water included
I
yet?
have I have one painting, but it's back at my friend Rosa Forty's. It's back in her studio, and I was painting it at her studio when I was in New York, and then I had to run back to Brazil, and I haven't been back to New York since.
Oh, okay.
So I I have art all over the place. Um, but I'm actually painting this one I want to talk about. I'm going to go back to the
Sure.
studio.
Sure.
We're going to talk about another painting.
Let's do it.
Yes. So this one isn't finished. Ooh. This one isn't finished. So
Okay.
the face still needs some work. But I'm actually painting this woman right here, and her name is Anastasia Escrava Anastasia, and
Okay.
she was a Brazilian slave, and her mother was African, and she was raped by a white man, by her master. And when Anastasia was born, she was dark skinned with blue eyes. And those
Oh,
features are very, very rare in Brazil. And she was known for her for being strikingly beautiful. And for this reason, she was repeatedly raped on the plantation. So her master, the master's wife, the mistress, was jealous, and she forced her to wear a metal collar and a metal mask over her entire face. So in Brazil, you see pictures of a woman. You see this image, and then you see an image of a woman with a mask. Uh, she ended up dying of tetanus because of all the metal that was on her face and in her body. However, on her deathbed, she forgave her masters, and she was known as being one of the kindest women that you could ever meet, despite being in such a horrible situation. So in Rio de Janeiro, she's considered a saint. And you see the image of her with the mask, and then you see this image of her without the mask. They paint
mhm.
her both ways all over Rio. And this is something that many Brazilians will carry around in their wallet. It has a prayer on the back, and it has a photo of her. So in this picture, I just changed up her face. I had a face on her, and I didn't like the face, so I'm going to
Okay.
have a better face. But I painted her, and I'm going to put her mask on the banana tree, and I decided to include her without the mask because, well, no, I included the mask, but I wanted it behind her. I didn't want her to wear the mask, and I debated for a long time because in reality, she wore the mask 24/7. She always wore that mask. So when people saw her, they saw a beautiful woman behind the mask. And
Hmm.
a lot of times when you see sculptures of her, paintings of her, many of them always include the mask because that was who she was. And that was what she looked like, being authentic. However, I felt like now we don't need to necessarily see her with the mask. We need to focus on the image behind her. Um,
Right.
so that's
Okay.
something that I'm working
I
on.
like that. So
Um,
you incorporated some Brazilian history. You painted a saint that someone that they hold on to. They put in their wallet. That's actually really cool that you did that, Mark.
they people here, they venerate black people and make them to saints here, and that's something that's very, very different. Um,
Mhm.
if in the United States versus here in Brazil, We look up to black people, we give them holidays, but they're not considered saints. Martin Luther King isn't considered a saint.
Right.
And in fact, he was rather imperfect. But here, if you're a black person and your story, was filled with struggle, but it can teach people something, then they make you a saint, and then you're for sure going to be remembered.
Wow.
And that's a way of honoring the person.
Okay. So I assume that you've been to church there?
Yes. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. And how was it?
I'm gonna be real.
Be
I'm
real.
I'm gonna be real. Like, it's not nothing like just going to like a good black church, and my neighborhood is so gentrified. It used to be a black neighborhood, but I'm one of the blackest people on my block.
Oh, wow.
So it's a little bit white. God is of all colors, but I like, it's a certain way that you're raised when you grow up in a Black Baptist church. And I love TD Jakes, so that's my form of church. But I still go and I still listen and just practice my Portuguese. Church really for me is alternative. It's this place called Lapa, and it's the downtown area. And in Lapa has a lot of really strong energy, a lot of historical energy there, and a lot of artist energy. And there's this place called Escada de Celarón, and those are the Celarón steps. And he was this famous artist. He was from Colombia, and he came to Brazil, and he built. There were these steps there, and he covered them in red tile. And if you saw the Snoop Dogg and Pharrell video when they were in Brazil, they were on the Celarón steps.
Oh, okay.
Where it was, the song is like, what's the name of that song? You're beautiful, and I want you to know you're my favorite girl.
Yes.
I want you to know, baby. Beautiful. You know the song, right?
Yes, I know the song.
That takes place on the Celarón steps.
Oh, the music video. Okay.
Yes. And that's my church. That's my church.
That's where you go to church.
In my way, because I meet all the artists there, and I have my spiritual moment there. I smoke and have my moment to myself on those steps. There's so much beautiful art around there. And it's a place where I can go and meditate and think about God. And I meet the most interesting people there. And I've met some of my greatest friends there, and really build a community for myself just in that area. So when I go to hang around the Celarón steps, it feels like home to me. And what the artist created was extraordinary. He really made something permanent for Brazil. And it always gets me to think about myself as an artist, about how I can make something permanent, about how I can create something that can outlive me. The artist actually, they say that the artist, once he finished the steps, because the steps was a really big project covering all of those tile, right? They say that he killed himself and he died on the steps. And he had a very dramatic life. I think his wife couldn't have kids, or she died when she was having kids. So he always would paint this image of himself with a pregnant belly. But regardless to that, there's a lot of great imagery on the steps, and he offers something permanent to culture. So and I consider it for the world. It's in Brazil, but he made something that was for the world. And I really think about how I want to offer my gifts and my talents to the world, and how that has to be. And that's why I'm thinking of doing more film, because I want to do more film.
Okay.
I'm going to tell you something. Once I make these paintings and I sell these paintings and it's gone, the painting is gone.
Right.
The painting is gone.
But with the film, it'll last. You can.
It'll last a little bit longer, and in moving ways with my visual art, to where I can create something that's more permanent.
Okay.
Because us artists, we're spending so much time on the project, we spit it out, someone purchases it, and then we don't see it again. And then if one day the painting resells, we're not getting any of that money. So it's almost like where, you know, when you're a painter, you're pushing it out and it's only staying up until a certain point, and then you don't get to pull any more from that. So
Yeah.
it's really, he really gets me to think about how I need to think more think more about incorporating permanence, and
Yes.
think about how I can offer myself to the world,
Mm.
regardless of where I'm at. And that's
Yeah,
why I love going there.
I love this. I encourage you to like document each step, you know, while you're like making your way into like making the films and stuff. And this is like so beautiful. I'm like so excited for you to just continue to make that imprint in the world. I have one more question for you, and it has to do with like ballroom
Okay,
culture.
yeah, ask me that, because I know all those. I know all those
Yeah.
people.
So I've been watching like your stories and stuff, and so I saw you have went to a ball in Brazil. So how was that experience like?
Oh, they so shady.
Oh,
But nah, they're nice. They're all nice. They're all
okay,
nice. It's not home. It's not home.
right,
It's not OTA.
okay. Shout
It's
out
not
to
OTA.
OTA. The Kiki.
um, and the community, I feel like in Brazil, these Vogue people feel like they more superstars. I feel like they feel like they superstars,
Okay.
and they need they. I feel like they. All right, here's my thing. Okay, Vogue Vogue comes from America, and it was made by black gay men and black trans women,
Hmm.
and it is a black American art. So sometimes people will take it because it's very, very trendy. You know, Vogue is something that's very, very trendy here, and I think that a lot of people do the Vogue and they don't really understand where it's coming from. They don't understand the struggle that goes with that sort of culture. Um, some people are actually black and trans,
Okay.
um, but I feel just outside of that, it seems like it's a little bit more trendy here versus I feel like back home, Vogue is really about making people feel at home and making
Mhm.
people feel comfortable, and that's the sort of thing that you get from the New York City ballrooms that you don't really get here. But maybe that's because my Portuguese isn't that good. Maybe when my Portuguese gets a little bit better, then
Yeah.
I can maybe understand what they're saying. But
Right.
but it just feels a little bit like I don't know. I don't know. I like New York. I like my New York City Vogue better, but I'm still open to it. I'm still open to
That's what's up. Well,
it.
thank you for sharing your experience with me. And I wish you the best, Mark. Like you being in Brazil and continue to work and just share your story and keep posting on Instagram. I know we were talking earlier about the algorithm and you feel like it's not like getting more views and stuff. Fuck the algorithm,
Yeah,
okay?
one comment on this, okay? With people, right? Like there is a problem, and I think this is just a widespread issue, right?
It
With people stalking artists and constantly consuming artist culture without actually wanting to support the artist. You know, you loving the Beyonce music, but not downloading the music. It's something that's so widespread that really covers all sort of disciplines and all types of artist experiences. So I'm always telling people, if you like the artist and you're looking at everything you're doing, like some of their work, you know, maybe share some of their work. This is something that is a free thing, and us artists, we need our support because the algorithm doesn't show the work anymore. I used to be able to put a painting out there, and I would get so much just interaction from it. But now I've learned that if I type the word sale in a post, then it won't perform. And it's because Instagram wants me to pay for that because they have the products. So they're gonna view, oh, this is a product, he has to pay to boost this. But if you post a photo of your face or of your skin, that's gonna go so much further. So people really gotta pay more attention to just, you know, supporting artists when you see that, because we all need to help.
Yes, that's so true.
And also, from other artists, right? Artists love, and people in the art community always love keeping tabs on one another, but not actually having relationships with one another. Make it personal. You know, artists personally always try to keep tabs on me, but don't want to acknowledge me. But one thing for me though is I'm going to acknowledge all those artists. If I like your work, if I'm looking at your work, I'm going to tell you I like it. I may not like everything, but I can appreciate it. I don't just look at what people do all the time and not acknowledge it.
So
artists got to get into
so
that.
basically get more engagement within the art community, within
Yes.
the community.
You know, it's nothing wrong with telling one of your colleagues that you like their painting. And I remember I was at one exhibition. I was at the Devin Morris exhibition. He had a solo show in New York City. And when I saw his show, he's from my hometown. He's a Black queer artist, and his piece was purchased by the Baltimore Museum of the Art. And I went to this museum when I was a child. And I remember going with my mother one time. I went with my grandma one time. I went by myself a couple times. And I never knew that someone, you know, like me could actually get into a museum. So when I saw his show, you know, I let him know I was so happy for him, but I took myself out for a drink because I needed to celebrate his energy.
Right.
Because that showed me that, you know, that if he could do it, I can do it.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? I don't have to look at him or keep tabs on him. I could just be inspired by him, and I can let him know that his art is inspiring me, because that's what good art is supposed to do. Art is supposed to inspire you. And I remember celebrating and envisioning when I would have my show, and when the museums would buy my art. And I look at him; he's been doing it for 10 years. His work has been consistently good for 10 years. I've only been painting maybe for around 3-4 years. You know, so to me, I would never get jealous of him, because he's someone that's put that time in, and his art inspired me. And even if I don't like the next piece he make, it would never take away the fact that his art inspired me and it left me better off from after seeing his show. And I will always look up to him because of how that art made me feel. And I think artists really need to get into acknowledging what we're doing. If you're looking at everything the artist does, acknowledge the artist, build the relationship, make the colleague.
Yes.
You know, let them know that you're a person.
Yes, that's a good message. So artists, y'all need to be more social with each other, support each other on and off social media, okay? Because y'all are in a community and y'all are all trying to grow y'all's platforms. And if you have a platform, try to help out somebody that's just trying to grow their platform. So yeah, we're all in this together. You know, let's help each other out. You know, let's win together.
We all need to win. We all got to work together, and we all need each other.
Yeah.
And our comments matter. You know, when I hear a comment from one of my colleagues that is in the art and they tell me that they love my paintings, that means something to me. I appreciate them for that. And I make sure that if I see another artist's work, I'm not going to say I love every painting that they make, because if I say that, then they won't know that when I really love it. But if I comment, well, this piece I really, really like, then they know that, you know, maybe they did something really good. You know, I could be that confirmation that they were looking for. Sometimes we need this. You know, it's very vulnerable putting yourself out all the time, always, you know, putting yourself out, and then people want to look at what you do, but they don't want to acknowledge it. Yeah. So shame on people. Support your artist. Buy the music. If you like the artist's music, buy one of the songs from the artist. They need you to purchase their music. They don't want you to just listen to it. You don't just gotta listen to it. Purchase the song.
Period. Yes. Well, thank you, Mark, so much. We'll speak again soon.
Yes, it's good talking with you.
Yes, and have a great night. Get some rest. And tomorrow, I hope you have a good yoga session, you know, and meditate on, like, you know, the messages that you share with the people. And I'm going to share your video. And Yeah, that's it. Tia is out. Mark, do you have any last words?
Thanks everybody for watching. If you watched this long, thank you. And this
Yeah.
is Tia Talks.
Period. Good night, y'all.